Colin.
Okay, welcome to another big edition of Rock Talk. Sorry, and celebration. We'll have a cigar here. Show I'm a tough guy. We're rockers. Oh, there he's got food. Yeah.
I've got the local moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
Bath moonshine.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Hey, what?
Oh boy, am I supposed to eat it or smoke it?
In the UK, we call it council pop, what I'm drinking.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, anyway, we've got here in our Partridge family, or no, what is it, Brady Bunch Squares? Canadian BC superstar Dan Powers there. Yeah, that's amazing. We're going to talk about Iron Maiden, just simple. It takes 2 seconds to do, and Headbanging Zulu UK at the star of the show and host. But we're just simple, pick the 5 favorite Iron Maiden albums and rank them 1 to 5. That was it.
So it wasn't difficult.
Should take 2 seconds.
Yeah. Not difficult job then.
No, so Dan, you can just start off honorable mentions and we'll go there.
Honorable mentions. I'm going to give you one, and I didn't pull it up, but I'm going to pull it out right now because a lot of people I think probably diss on this album, but it was Dance of Death. I absolutely love this album. I just watched a video earlier this week where I can't remember, someone was posting a top 5, 10, whatever Maiden albums, and for some odd reason, this came like almost dead last out of the discography, but I think it's an amazing album. I don't know, Greg, if you've heard this, but it's one of those.
Cloudy's the Iron Maiden expert of the world, as far as I know, but he sent me that because I didn't really know about it, and I thought it was pretty good, but I haven't heard it for a long time.
Like Wildest Dreams, Rainmaker. I just think it was a really good album. It was a lot better album than, for example, like, not the new one, but what was the one that came after that? I'm trying to think right now, right off the top of my head.
Well, we're on live TV, so give your head a shake.
So it would have been A Matter of Life and Death. That's what it was. I wasn't a huge fan of that one. I like it, but it wasn't like Dances of Death. I really like that album a lot. It still gets a lot of playtime for me.
Yeah, it's a long time since I've heard that one, but yeah, it's a pretty decent album.
Yeah, I thought it was a good album.
Top 10, probably, sort of, maybe 10, maybe a bit outside the top 10.
Oh, and before the day stops, I was going to ask about everybody's finding out about Iron Maiden. When did you get into the band, and what album blew you away, or that type of thing? Like, what's your relationship with the band?
Steve, you want to start?
Yeah, it was Number of the Beast over here. Didn't know anything at all about the Diana years, the first 2, because Run to the Hills was the huge hit off that. It was in the British charts and everything. And it was also a very important year for me. It's when I decided I was going to be a heavy metal record collector as well. And that's that time I started collecting. But yeah, it was basically Run to the Hills, Number of the Beast, Iron Maiden. It's still got some of my favourite songs on there. Didn't make me number 1 like this. It's still, got some of my favourite songs on there, but it's got to be that album in this country. And it got some bit of a bad press, but it was a solid album. It's not my favourite, as you're about to find out, but Run to the Hills was a big hit. And that's what got me into it, really.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I was the same way. Like 82, 83, I remember there was a local store down from where I lived, and I bought a cassette tape. It was called The Masters of Metal. And they had like Accept and Crocus and Iron Maiden. Run to the Hills was on that cassette tape. And that was the album that broke it for me. Like, I had that little Masters of Metal cassette, which I played over and over and over again. And shortly after that, it was Peace of Mind was just coming out right around that time because I was late to the party.
Yeah.
So probably early 80s, like 83, 84, right around
Yeah.
the same time I was getting into the Priest era. That whole new wave of British heavy metal. That's where Iron Maiden came in. And Iron Maiden right now, because I have people ask me this all the time because I'm such a music guy, right? Who's your favorite band? Who's your favorite band? I don't have a favorite band anymore, but top 3 favorite bands, Halloween's definitely one of them. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Queensryche. Those are all still my favorite bands, and
Can't argue with that.
So
yeah, because it's weird because funny you should say that because I think I heard Iron Maiden, the actual song off the first album, and about that time as well. I never liked that track. I thought it was a bit corny. I don't think they sing it live anymore either.
I don't know if they do. Yeah,
I just didn't take to that track because what you got to remember as well was Iron Maiden was that new wave of British heavy metal, and they were a killer band at that time. But the second album and the third album had Clive Burr on the drums, and we'll talk about that one later. But they were phenomenal, and Number of the Beast was a killer album. But you can't fault it. There's some seriously good tracks on that record. And then Run to the Hills came, and that was it. It was huge in this country. It was nice to see a heavy metal song actually do well in the charts as well because it was still underground. It's not like mainstream as it is now. It's like very underground. New Wave was, and you had to go and find it. And it's nice to see a band sort of break through in the charts wise. And I can't think of any. I know sort of rock bands did, but not a metal band. I can't. Someone's listening to this and won't correct me, but it was a sort of real big metal band breaking through into the charts. What was it like in Canada, Greg? Was that a big hit?
Metal never made the charts here. Yeah. You guys are way ahead of us. Saxon, we never heard of them. They're just an import bin. Iron Maiden, they're the import bin. I mean, till the Number of the Beast, then that was finally hit more. Still no radio airplay where I lived anyway in Canada. I don't know about back east, but
no, we didn't get that either. If anybody, you guys would have got it before we did.
Yeah.
Judas Priest and Sabbath, though, they were right at the top of the heap for metal, but still no radio airplay.
No,
it was terrible. Actually, there's a funny story. I may as well tell it. Do you know the movie Black and Blue? They filmed in movie theater quality. It was Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult on tour together, and they put it in the movie theaters. So they had it in Vancouver, and my brother and his friend went, and I don't know why I didn't, but it's a whole ton. It's all just concert footage. Like it's half their concert. So in a big screen, it's excellent. And the guy from the radio station, whatever it was on the stage at the theater, the movie screen, but he was in front of the big movie screen. He said, "Well, welcome everybody, and this is going to be a great night." And then my brother's friend stood up and said, "Don't feed us this. You guys never play these guys. You guys don't know what you're talking about. What about you wouldn't even play Paranoid?" And he was really mad, and he was right. But the guy had to. It was funny. I mean, even probably the radio guy liked those bands, but I don't know. It was, and he went for a minute or something, a big screaming thing about it.
Yeah.
Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult were in 1980 or whatever, 81.
Yeah. So I think over here, because as I say, it was new wave, but it was so great. I mean, we was in awe of it. I mean, being a kid, I was, I think it was 16. I was being, 82, wasn't it? Was it 82, wasn't it, Number of the Beast? Around about 81, 82, maybe 83. I can't remember the exact one. But, it was a big thing. I was a 16-year-old kid listening to Run to the Hills. And you can imagine, it was like going outside at 12 o'clock in the night and seeing a flying saucer. It was that sort of wonder to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was pretty much all this garbage, that you see, like it was disco and it was new wave. It was all this sort of stuff. And I mean, Iron Maiden, I'll put it up there, seeing a UFO. Yeah, I am. I'm well blessed.
Wow, you saw him back in the day twice.
82 and 85. Wow, yeah.
I saw him about 10 years ago in Canada, 2 different cities that are Edmonton and Calgary that are 2 hours away. So I went to both shows in a row. But yeah, that was 10 years ago, and So I missed the first wave of it.
Fear of the Dark with me. If I said it was a good gig, and I'm going to be truthful, it was not. Bruce Dickinson left. It was when he was finished. You could tell there was atmosphere on the stage. They played Transylvania, which was off the first album, for about half an hour. Bruce Dickinson weren't in the best of moods. He was chucking water at fans. It was not in a friendly way. It was malicious. And apparently, I think it was, I'm not sure, but I think it was the last show of the actual tour. And it was then Dickinson left. And but you could tell, you can actually smell. I mean, the only redeeming factor, they did The Trooper, which is one of my favourite songs of all time. But if I said it was the greatest show I've ever seen, or I'd be a liar. And I'm not a liar. I've got to tell the truth, but it wasn't their best. You know, I'm not saying they're not good. They've probably done better, but I might look lucky enough to see them when they're good. But when I saw them, they weren't the best. And it was in all the papers as well. They were very rude to the fans outside who were waiting after the show. And you could tell there was atmosphere on that stage. There was something not right. And I mean, only paid 44 quid. I mean, if you paid sort of 150 quid, you'd be sort of wanting your money back. You know what I mean? You paid 44 quid. It was like 5 or 6 on the train. So he wasn't that bothered, but it wasn't a good gig. If I say it was, so I'm not a liar, and I'll be lying to you. It wasn't their best anyway.
Yeah, see, I saw Maiden, I think 4 times, 5 times. I saw them on the Seventh Son tour. Guns N' Roses opened up for them here in Moncton.
Yeah.
And then I saw them again in the Ed Hunter tour when they were finally getting back together in 99, 2000. Voivod, of all bands, opened up for them.
Yeah.
And, which was great for me because I love Voivod. And then I just saw Maiden just before the release of not Senjutsu, but the album right before that. I saw them on that tour. They played in Quebec, and I drove up. Ghost opened up for that show, and all the times I was fortunate to see Iron Maiden, they've all been amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, I must have, how lucky I am in life. I must have caught them on a really bad night. It was. I mean, it was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. The performance was good. Dickinson. It wasn't the lack of performance. The music was great. It was just, you could tell there was an atmosphere. You could sense it. The way Dickinson was walking about the stage, he was sort of prancing. Then it announced he was leaving the band, and they got bloke out of Wolfsbane, Blaze. Blaze Bailey, yeah. But you could tell with Dickinson there was an atmosphere on that stage, and you could sense it straight away.
Right. So in '99, the Ed Hunter tour, that was where Yannick Gears came in, had joined the band. So you had that 3 guitar player.
Yeah.
Who, something, that guy's got more energy on stage. And
I was going to ask you that, Dan. You just asked the question that I was going to ask you. What do you think? Do you think the 3 guitar attack approved Iron Maiden with Yannick Gears, or because a lot of people say it took it away? But do you think it was an improvement on the band's sound, or?
Yannick Gears is a phenomenal guitar player, but I think it just took away from that main 2 guy, with Steve.
Yeah.
It was almost like the KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. They were the 2. If you would have brought a 3rd guitar player in for Priest, it was just like, I don't know if it would have worked. It did work with Maiden, having 3 guitar players. I think Adrian Smith's a phenomenal guitar player. That was the guitar duo. Like, I found with Iron Maiden, there wasn't one lead guitar player. Like, they didn't have a lead guitar player. They had 2 guys that could solo and do just about anything, right? So, but I think, again, Yannick Gears, when I saw him on stage, tons of energy.
Yeah.
He's always running from one side to the other.
Yeah, he was. When I saw him, he was great.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw him, musically, they were fantastic. The band, Steve Harris, all the 4 lads, Nico McBain, he was funny as normal. Can't fault it. It was just Bruce Dickinson's night. And you could tell the way he was romping around the stage. He was stroppy,
Yeah. Dave Murray is just one of those laid-back guitarists. He can do his own thing when he wants to on stage, but
he's very underrated, Davis.
Yeah. I love Dave Murray. I just love it. style. I love everything about both those guitar players. So
Yeah, I mean they're going about Adrian all the time, but you got to say Dave. He's great. You know, he's that sort of solid beat, and he contributes to this. So
right. So if I had to pick a guitar player from both of those, it would be so tough for me.
yeah,
I think I'd be going on the Dave Murray side. I just think he's a phenomenal guitar player.
He is, but people underestimate what he does for the band. I mean, it's always Steve Harris, it's always Adrian Smith.
Right.
But Dave Murray, he's the glue that holds that band together. He's just solid.
Yeah. Oh, I agree, 100%.
Yeah. Right, Greg, your turn, mate. Are we just doing a discussion, or it's honorary mentions, isn't it?
We can go in honorary. Yeah, honorary mentions. Yeah, I guess mine would have to be Brave New World.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just for that song. The whole album I didn't like, but that one track kind of, I went, wow, okay, now we're talking, because the 90s was such a horrible era for music, except for punk. Although there's still the odd gems, but I mean, instead of like the 70s and 80s, all of a sudden it's lean grunge years, which I hated. And then, but then I heard Brave New World. I went, oh, okay, now the light's on again. That's where Maiden should be. That's where Sabbath should be. That's where everybody should be. That's the perfect example. I love that song. So I guess Brave New World's my one honorable mention.
Yeah, I'll make a confession. Sorry, Dan.
That album too, Greg, it was that comeback album where, you know, Bruce finally comes back, and I agree with what you're saying. I think it's a great album. I really did like it. So I was happy when everything started coming about again, and Iron Maiden are back together. So for an Iron Maiden fan, to me, it was exciting. Some of the albums that came after that were hit and miss for me, or for a lot of people. Dance with Death happened to be one of my favorite ones. And an honorable mention for me would be the Book of Souls. I remember I bought this album, and I had a 2-hour car ride, and I thought, what better, and I was by myself, what better time to crank this up?
There we go.
And if you wanted my honest opinion, I'll give it to you. That album, in my opinion, was, it brought me right back to the Seventh Son. It's probably their best album since Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. I truly think it is. Now, Senjutsu took me a long time to get used to it. The only problem I found with that album, there's not a song that sticks in my head. You know what I mean? You can pick an album and you got a song that'll pop and stick into your head. Senjutsu doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Book of Souls has it. I can pick that album, and it's like, man, that's just an unbelievable album.
Yeah.
Senjutsu just hasn't grown on me, and it's not from a lack of trying. I've played that album, but it just doesn't. Steve, you know what I mean, right?
I do, because Greg will back me up with this. A couple of weeks ago, we had a bit of a drama here when we was doing the show behind the scenes, and I had to stay up late, and I was trying to like Senjutsu, and I set myself a task, and I listened to it live, and I listened to the album, and do I like Senjutsu? The answer was no. And like, for every reason you said, Dan, there ain't a memorable track on it. And when you see Bruce Dickinson perform it on stage, you can tell he's not enjoying it. There was one track, he sort of stood on the speakers doing his cross legs, you know, he spreads his legs wide. Yeah. And by his facial expression, he looked bored, stiff. I'm not enjoying this. But I have not even bothered buying Senjutsu. I listened to about 6 tracks on YouTube, which I do now. And I said, I'm not buying this. It's just like Scott Waters said, it was too long. And the tracks were too long. And to me, there's just nothing memorable on, like all the Iron Maiden tracks, you get a standout song, even the bad ones. There's something on there that makes that album stand out. With Senjutsu, we had nothing like that. And it's just a plain Jane. It's just boring.
And Scott was right. The album is over length. Iron Maiden had that long album thing anyway.
Yeah.
The songs being way longer. And I bought it because it's finishing my discography, right? So whether I like it or not, I'm going to buy it anyway. But I bought it in September when it first came out and played it. And then I never played it again until when I was getting ready to do my top 10 albums of 2020 or 21. I played it again, and I still couldn't get the songs to just jump out at me.
I can't.
You know, The Writings on the Wall is a good song. I really dig the bluesy
Yeah.
sound of that song. I thought it was kind of surprising that Iron Maiden went that route because it did. It sounded like that hard rock blues, southern rock, but it's a good song. I really do like that. But out of that entire album, that would probably be the song that would stick out to me the most.
I mean, with Senjutsu, it's one of these albums. If I see it in a bargain bin, I certainly wouldn't pay more than £5 for it in English money, £5. And it's a sort of, if I see it in a bargain bin, I'll probably pick it up, just like you say, for discography. But it's not an album I'm sort of rushing out to the shops to get. 'Cause you know what it's like, all the hype and all the stuff, and all the new Iron Maidens coming out. But I'd check them out on YouTube first, because there's a lot of albums that are new. And I'm sorry, they just don't come up to my standard. I'm not
so my discography for Maiden is complete, with the exception of the two Blaze Bailey. I don't have those, and I've listened to them, but I just can't. I just don't like them. Not that it has nothing to do with Blaze Bailey. I just don't think he was the guy for Maiden at that time, right? So I don't have those two albums. They would finish my discography, but everything with Bruce, I have, right? So.
John S. Danny makes a great comment. Have you read it? It says that if you combine the first disc of Book of Souls and the second of Senjutsu, it'd be a great release.
You're probably right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm not I can't comment on that. I know Book of Souls pretty well, but say Senjutsu, I listened to 4 tracks. The first big song, too political, too long, and like Dan said, it was just boring. It's like drinking the same drink all day long. It's like someone saying to me, you're allowed to live on water for the next 6 months. And that's what like Maiden album had on me on Senjutsu. I just, I would like an X Factor release with Bruce.
I'd thumbs up for that too. Yeah.
But right, is it your turn? Oh, it's my turn for the honourable mentions. This will shock you. So I've got a feeling this has made someone's top 5. But unfortunately, it's not made mine.
Careful.
And this is going to shock you, the pair of you.
Careful.
Yeah, it was a choice of this or the other album.
If you've thrown this album in the dumpster and it's one of our top 5s, Buster.
Yeah, and that's what I sort of exonerate. That's Somewhere in Time.
Okay.
This, some of the people will be shocked and said, how could he leave that out? It was a toss-up between this record and the next one. But no, it wasn't. He had Wasted Years on. Heaven Can Wait were obviously the big songs. But I don't think it was as good as the next 5. But yeah, this will probably shock a lot of people. And it has a great cover. I don't know if you lads know, but it had West Ham 7, Arsenal 3. Because Steve Harris was a West Ham fan. He's a fanatical. And when you see the scores, Arsenal were the big team at the time. And it was a bit of tongue-in-cheek. But I like the cover. But, it's not a bad album. It's definitely an 8 to 9 out of 10. But it hasn't made my list, I'm afraid. And I've got a feeling it could be in somebody's list.
That's funny, because if I was in a band, I would do that on an album cover. I didn't think of that, but I would do like Canucks versus Montreal, 100-0. That's hilarious putting that on there. That's a real.
I think that album has a little bit of everything in that album. Like they put a lot of thought process when they did that album cover. Just like Maiden does anyway, but that album especially, I think there's a lot more to it than just some of the small points in that album cover. But I love that album cover too.
Yeah, because if you notice, Steve Harris has got a West Ham guitar strap as well in their colours. Rod, I'm not a West Ham fan, mate. I come from the other side of the river. It's Royals to me. But West Ham, I've got a lot of friends, being raised in the East End of London. They're all Hammer fanatics. I'm blowing bubbles and all this. Steve Harris is as well. But that was tongue-in-cheek on that cover. But also another thing I want to ask the broadcast, did anyone think the early Iron Maiden albums were very political, or do you think they were political? Or I know they had sort of political imagery in them, but someone said the songs were really, really political. I was wondering if anybody else picked that up.
I never really stuff like that. I really don't pay attention.
Nah, nor me.
I'm reading the lyrics and I'm listening to the song. I'm
Yeah,
not focusing on the political parts or.
Nah, nor me. They had Margaret Thatcher on the 12-inch. If you have one of their Iron Maiden
That's
12
right.
inches, if you look, you have Margaret Thatcher in a military uniform.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned that. I didn't know about Senjutsu, the first track off that, to me was very political. There were, and it was boring, like, because pick up the politics inside. But no, I read that a few times. People said Maiden were very political, but I was just wondering if anybody else picked that up.
I guess I didn't know.
No, normally.
I think every band has political.
Yeah.
In their songs.
Mm.
But for me, I don't listen to that. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it.
No, normally.
I can read up on the lyrics and listen to the songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to this question. The other one that I always hear about, people say that the first couple Iron Maiden albums sound punk. I don't think they sound 1% punk, but other people think, oh, that's their punk side because punk was big then and all that. But I don't find one bit of, I find it just heavy metal. But I'm obviously wrong. I'm in the minority. But what do you guys?
Because what you got to remember was the first one was just I find was a normal Dennis Stratton was the guitarist, I think, if I remember rightly. Stratton. Adrian Smith hadn't joined. But what you got to remember was Martin Birch never joined to Killers. And then that was the first album he produced. And obviously the sound changed. And I think he produced the next 8 or 9 records. But it was very sort of new wave, was a bit punk. And classic books. Yeah, I agree with that. John. I can see where you're going with that punky thing. It was very raw, the first album, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Guitar tone on it didn't have the signature Iron Maiden sound. It had a raw.
No.
It even struck me because I haven't heard that album for a while. I'm like, oh, don't know if I like that guitar tone near as much as the Aces High and that era.
Yeah, because Martin Birch, it was before his reign. He got hold of them. I think he cleaned a lot of it up.
Right, and Greg, just what you had just said there, the sound quality. You got to remember sound quality from the late 70s, 80s, to the 82, 83, 84. It's like Eddie Van Halen used to say, I'm plugging this jack into this Marshall stack and turn the volume up. There was no pedals. There was no distortion. You know what I mean? It was you turn the volumes and everything up and you plug it in and the sound is what you got, right?
Yeah.
So, but I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, Greg.
Just to lead into Dan, I sent you a video of the Headpins live on one of your YouTube comments.
I did see that, yeah.
But anyway, one of the comments on that video said that he had the amp, the turn it loud where the Marshall stack was.
Yeah.
He used to come in and he had because he has a really great raw sound, like an excellent guitar tone, one of my favorites. But it read that the guy would carry the amp in like this, like a little suitcase or a little bag. And everyone wondered, well, how could he do that? Is he that strong? I mean, he looks like a big guy, but yeah, there it is. But
got that one.
A little 12 by 14 little tiny speaker that actually was plugged in, and the rest was just for show. But somehow he got out of that. He just wanted that simple, plug it in and whatever pedals he had. But exactly like you say, he just kept it simple.
Because I know, Greg, I know you're not really into the big heavy thrash. So I'm a pretty big Overkill guy. And I was watching a documentary on, I can't remember, it might have been 1 or 2 albums ago. I can't really remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I can't remember. And they were showing, so the lead guitar player had a cab and an amp in a closet. And they were asking him where he got the sound. He said, we don't have effects. My songs, he said, I took this patch cable into my guitar and he opens the closet. And he said, I plug it into that head. That's all that's on this album. He said, there's no fancy smancy pedals, nothing. Chord, amp, sound. That's how we did the album. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to, yeah, that's a great thing. But just I want to comment on the comments on Zula just flashed up. But yeah, Darby Mills. When I watched that whole video last night that I sent both of you actually. But
Yeah, I haven't got round to watching mine yet.
I started thinking that's for sure the best performance by. I don't care about vocals that much. They're the background. The guitar is all me, like vocalists or whatever. But Darby Mills, holy cow. She hit the highest of high notes, and her moving around was perfect. Like just, she wasn't a phony, a poser. She was a total rock. I met her a few times, and I talked to her. I said, "Why don't you guys have a live album out and all this stuff?" But I should have realized how absolutely. I rated it close to Holford on Unleashed in the East as my favorite singing performance of all time, and I'm almost 100 years old. So you'll see when you see the video. Club Soda, Headpins Live at Club Soda. For anybody listening who wants to look it up, but it's an hour and 15 minutes on their third album. But yeah, there's a couple of songs that are a little more, they had to go commercial. The record company told them they had to at the second album. But anyway, but the rockers are, the tone and everything, I love that concert. But,
from what I watched, it was really good. And Darby Mills with the Headpins, how they went that commercial way. Lee Aaron did the same thing. When you looked at Metal Queen to Body Rock, you see sort of went that direction. But I've always been a big Headpins fan. Like that Turn It Loud cassette was probably one of the first cassettes I ever bought. So that's why I'm so adamant about trying to find a copy of that on CD, because I've looked and I went on eBay and looked, and I just haven't had much luck. So,
well, King Scott's mailing me one for me to mail to you, so you've got one coming.
Yeah.
When that came, or no, I was out of high school. I guess it would have been 80, 81, but this guy I hung around with all the time. He had the Craig Power Play speakers with the cassette deck. Like that was top of the line.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he'd always play either that album, which I loved, or he'd play Pink Floyd The Wall, which I didn't like. So I'd be moody and pouty. And but yeah, but when he put headphones on, it sounded great, you know, when you're 20 years old or whatever I was. So
yeah.
Yeah. Right, folks, we better get into the top five. Can I just come back on Dan very quickly? When we did this list, and I'll give you my word of honor, I made the list out, finished it about 4 o'clock, and I always have a look around to see what other lists are, you know, their rankings. Because my list stays where it is, but I just saw everybody else. And it was funny because Book of Souls was in a lot of people's top 5 Iron Maiden albums of all time. Whoa. Brave New World was in their top 5. Oh. And and I just thought I wanted to come back to Dan with that. It was quite interesting. So when you talked about the Book of Souls earlier on, when we were discussing it, that record made it a lot of people's top 5 albums of all time by Maiden.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. I just thought I'd mention that. It was just
it didn't make my top 5, but it would be a 6, 7.
Yeah.
8, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's in the same league as Brave New World in that era, sort of top 10 easily.
Yeah.
Right, Dan, let's see your number 5, mate.
So my number 5, we had just talked about it just a little while ago. For me, it was Brave New World. And the return of Bruce finally coming back to Iron Maiden. They're getting that third guitar player with the 8 gears. I absolutely love this album.
Sorry, Dan, I'm slacking.
I bought it when it first came out, and The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator, Brave New World. It was just an absolutely amazing album. It cracked my top 5 because in the early 2000s when this came out, it got a lot of airplay. I played it constantly, and actually, I just played it about a month ago, and thinking about how good this album really is. Blood Brothers, it's a slower song, but it's still one of my favorite songs on the album. The Nomad, again, The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator. So my top 5, number 5 is Brave New World. I love this album.
Yeah.
That's great you mentioned The Wicker Man. I forgot to name drop that song. That was a fantastic song.
Yeah. And what title, right? I just love that. I love that song.
I've got mixed reservations about it because the Blood Brothers one you mentioned, it's a sort of record that if it came on my music, I'd skip it. Can't stand it. Wicker Man is a funny one because I'll probably give it about a 7 out of 10. But yeah, I've got mixed up reservations about that one. Some of it I like, some of it I don't. But that Blood Brothers winds me up somewhat chronic. Blood Brothers. It's obviously a studio track, and it was the way Bruce sings it as well. I've got it live, and when it comes on live, it's just so does my nutting. It's one of these records. It goes Blood Brothers. You know, to get everybody. You could have come up with something better, Bruce. Turn the thing off. I just get the button now. It's about 10, 15 minutes long, but I just don't like it. It's my second worst Iron Maiden track of all time. Bring Your Daughters the first. I hated that one for other reasons. But yeah, I'm sorry. Blood Brothers, no.
Oh, it's all good. You're different from mine. That's why we're into
That's it. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Yeah. If we had the same opinions and stuff, what's the point of doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my take on it. I'll give it a 7, 6 to 7.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because this morning, because I really blasted a lot of Maiden last night. This morning I was walking around, I couldn't get that Murder in the Rue Morgue song out of my mind, and it was picking. But I think I gave it a really good rating at the time, but it just all morning I'm trying to get out. Then I start trying to sing Aces High to myself, and then like it just pick, and I don't know if I should give it a way lower rating now, but it's probably that one little part that bugged me, just like you with Blood. That's funny. That's why these lists are so funny, because everybody has a different. Like King Scott Waters liked the song "Fluff" from Black Sabbath. I gave it a 0, or was it Changes? I can't remember, but he gave it a good rating, and I'm like, I have to.
I'm sorry, but in my mind, Mum, God rest her soul, didn't raise any liars, and I've got to tell the truth. I don't like it, Blood Brothers, and I can't bring myself to lie. I'm sorry, I just genuinely don't like it. Especially I've seen it, heard it live. I just get the clicker and fast forward it to the next track. Sorry, Bruce, but I don't like it.
Nope, it's all good.
I mean, it's like Dan says, a lot of their stuff was recent stuff, like the last. It's been hit and miss with me, and a lot of it's been a miss, but some of it's been decent. But other track, and they're not really sort of memorable, but a lot of the tracks have been really misses with me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go next for number 5.
Yeah. Look, hang on, Gray. I'll put you on the thing.
If I had done it without listening to anything, this one I'm pretty sure would have been my number 1. It did make the top 5. I don't know. I think it might be someone's number 1, but I can't believe it because I did every song out of 10.
Yeah.
Rated them, divided up by how many songs, and then get an average per, like 8.3 out of 10 type. So that's how I judge this. Number 5. Whoa. How can you put number 5 when you've got songs like Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight? Just those two should have made it number 1 out of all time. Like, if we did a ranking of all songs of Iron Maiden top 10, that's a whole different shebang. But I had to give it number 5. I don't know. Just there was one that I gave a 5 out of 0, and a couple of 7s. Track 3, 4, 5 7s, and I don't know. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I did give an 8, but yeah, but the Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight are two of the best songs in rock history by any band ever in the history of rock. So that's all I've got to say about that.
For reasons that will become apparent later, I'm not going to come back on Greg. What do you think, Dan? You got any thoughts, mate?
Off the Power Slave album, has my favorite song by Iron Maiden of all time, which is the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Oh, okay.
If you were going to pick, if I had to pick a favorite Iron Maiden song of all time, it would be the Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I love the song. I forget that it's 15 minutes long. It holds my interest the whole way through. You know, it's like the song Power Slave. It's 13 minutes of just, I love that song. I love that album. But you are right, Greg. When you get 2 Minutes to Midnight, Aces High. But Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, for me, my all-time top favorite Iron Maiden song.
So if you don't mind the long songs, where do you rate Freebird up against those songs? Or is that low, slow and boring and you don't like it, or do you love
No,
Freebird?
I like Freebird.
Just as much as those songs, the Iron Maiden ones?
No, not as much. Not
Don't
as
ask
much.
me, Greg.
Okay,
Don't ask me. I'm begging you.
rough. Starting to get parties getting rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
I'll refrain from commenting because you're going to hear my opinions on it later. But I had to rack my brains to do mine, which took me some decent hard work. So I ain't got many brains left to rack. And I thought it would be criminal not to include this record. It's got to be Killers for me, number 5. The reason why, it was the first record that Martin Birch produced. It was the first album that Adrian Smith was on there. It had a killer song called Wrathchild, which got to be one of my favourite songs. And it was sort of, you knew Maiden was going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I think when they released this album, I may be wrong, I think they must have thought that Deanna wasn't the lead singer to do it with. There was all sorts of controversial why they got rid of him. I'm not going into details. But then Dixon came on for Number of the Beast, and obviously he took it up to another level. But to me, it was a very important foundation album in their catalogue. I mean, yeah, I'll leave it, pull it to the floor, but that's my thoughts on it. And not to include, I think it was better in the first. It was more polished because the production was better, obviously, and I think it's an important stepping stone for what was to come. You know what I mean? But I think they must have realised they couldn't have done it because Diano had all kinds of issues. I reckon drugs, booze, or whatever you want to believe. I don't believe half the stuff I read about them. But yeah, it was like the stepping stone album for me. But not to. It was also, some say, the best new wave of British heavy metal album ever released. There's been all sorts of stuff, so it'd be stupid to leave it out of my top 5. It was either that or Somewhere in Time. I'd probably take this album all day long.
You know, Martin Birch, if he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's an absolute travesty. I mean, look at the albums done. I don't need to list them off, but he's like, if you're going to have one guy in the engineer category or whatever, he's got absolute top of the list. Like if I was going to have a band, I'd be phoning him first. I know he's passed away now, but unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. That's an amazing album. But for me, like I love Paul Di'Anno. I love what he did. He just wasn't that fit. You know what I mean? I loved everything he did with Maiden. And I know right now I still watch some of his videos on YouTube. I know his health's gone downhill a lot.
Yeah, he was in a wheelchair last I saw him.
He still is. And but you know, like I'm not saying he put Iron Maiden on the map, but those 2 albums, the songs that are on those 2 albums were just amazing. So
oh yeah, I agree with that, Rod. Yeah, I mean Dixon, he was. I may be wrong, but I think they were headhunting Dickinson for a long time before he joined.
Yeah, I agree.
If I'm wrong, someone tell me. But I think when they recorded Killers, they already had Dickinson well before they had him in. He was actually being groomed, if you like, for that job. I know he used to go and see him a lot, and you know, so yeah. But Dickinson, he's one of the best vocalists in metal. He's up there with Halford and Dio and that sort of stuff. But I mean, he blows Di'Anno away. The reason why Hell Killer's up, because that's right, Rod. He sort of was a good album. But I think the story was that Dickinson had contractual obligations with Samson. That's why Maiden couldn't have him early. And they had to wait till Dickinson finished his contract. But I'm sure there was a story where I think Maiden knew they're always after Dickinson, maybe after the first album, they always wanted Dickinson to be the front man. It may be, if I'm not telling truth, someone tell me, but I'm 85, 90% sure that was right.
Did you just go ahead.
I was just going to say he's probably right.
Yeah.
But did you mention in that little statement that Dickinson blows away Dio? Is that a quote that I just heard? Or
no, I said Dickinson's up there with Dio and Halford. That was the quote.
Okay, that's good. That sounded like blows away, and I went, no, that's something's
No, no, I'm only drinking Council Pop. This is water. I'm not on the heavy stuff yet. I wouldn't make a statement like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only having on the wall. Not like Dan. He's on the beer. I'm getting worried about Dan.
I know. He's going to really give us a tongue lashing we'll never forget once that kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. We've got to have a laugh. Riding with Angels, the killer song. Who did that, Rod? Samson or Maiden?
I don't know. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good one.
Might be Samson if
Not on this album. No. But anyway, that's me number 5 anyway.
Okay. Nobody got hurt, so that's good.
That's good. Well, Dan, up to you, mate. Oh, Samson, I thought it was. Yeah, I'm not too up to on that catalogue.
Yeah,
I've got a record of theirs. I thought so.
So we're gonna go with my top 4 Iron Maiden album, and it's Power Slave.
Wow.
I know with having my favorite Iron Maiden song on it, I still put it at number 4, even though it has the tracks like Ace Aside, 2 Minutes to Midnight. I still really love this album. Again, it was trying to take one album, move it to second, move it to third. Do I put it in fifth and move it down? This was one of those albums that I had floating around. I couldn't figure out where to put it. But, the Big Aura, Flash of the Blade, The Duelists, very, very, very good album. Of course, this was a tour that from the Live After Death, this album, this tour just was crazy. And 84, 85. This tour they actually played in Halifax, but at that time I was like 14 years old, 15, and you just couldn't get to shows like that at that age. But coming in at number 4 for me, Power Slave. Again, my favorite Iron Maiden song was "Rime of the Ancient Mariner."
Yeah.
And I absolutely love this album.
So that provoked the live album, Live After Death, which is arguably one of the best live albums ever recorded in my book. It's got to be a top 10 all day long.
This was another great live album.
Yeah, made in Japan.
With the Diano. I bought this cassette in a bin back in like 85, and I still have the original cassette.
Wow.
And it's just one of those live albums. And I bought it because I remember hearing the song Running Free.
Yeah, that was off the first one.
You know what I mean? Like, holy, it was mind blown.
Yeah, it was.
And that was the song that I saw on that live album. I had to get it. And I just played this cassette not long ago, so it's still.
Why in the world is that? That's not on CD, is it? I've never seen it on CD, unless it's on
$100. It's on a cassette.
Pardon?
It's on a cassette.
Yeah,
but I don't think I've ever. I don't even know if they reissued it on.
I don't think they did. I know on vinyl it's a very expensive record over here.
I think they did on vinyl, but not on CD.
I know they have on vinyl, definitely on vinyl. Because you can get it over here, it goes for crazy prices now. But I don't know they put it. I've never seen it on CD. Not saying that it's never been issued over here.
Yeah. So this is still just like brand new.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite collections. Yeah.
If we included live albums, my first album would have been Live After Death, and my second album of all time for Iron Maiden would have been that one. And then you go on to the studio albums after that. But
yeah,
mine's Made in England. The one they did at the NEC, I've got.
Yeah, I have.
Seventh Son tour. That's got to be mine for reasons I'm going into later. But yeah, it's my probably. Obviously, Live After Death is my number 1 favourite, but Made in England's probably missed because the one they did at the NEC to me has got to be a favourite. Second favourite, the top 2.
Yeah.
Right, Greg, you're on, mate.
I'm on the hot seat now. Okay.
Hot seat. This seat's getting nuclear tonight, mate. Forget hot, you'll melt.
Yeah, well, I took Killers as number 4. The song Wrathchild, I remember hearing that for the first time type thing, and it just was excellent.
Yeah.
It surprised me because I haven't listened to this album a lot, but I've got, Ides of March I gave a 7, but Wrathchild and then there's Invaders and Another Life and so on. Like you've got 8, 8, 7, 9, 9, 9, like 6, 8.5. So there's a lot of songs that I kind of didn't think they'd get that high when I originally made this list, but once I started listening, I went, oh no, this is gonna be so easy. So yeah, but Rat Child's the king of the songs for me on that album.
It is.
I wonder,
Yeah.
did that ever come out as a single in England?
I don't think so. That was a single. I don't even remember. That was a single off the record, was it? I think it was.
I'm wondering if it was because Running Free is a perfect, the next album after.
I know Running Free probably was, but to say it was way before my time buying records. That's when they were expensive when that came out in 1980, and I couldn't afford records then. I was only I was 14, so I ain't got a clue. But Running Free was a big song off that album, and Wrathchild. But whether they did or not, I can't remember. But Iron Maiden, I don't know if it's in Canada, lads. But Iron Maiden over here has always been very, very expensive stuff to buy because it's on EMI. And even back in the 80s and the 90s, it was very expensive. It was always top price, you know what I mean? And, because I've always said, because Maiden had the best management out of Judas Priest and Maiden, had a great management sort of infrastructure behind them with Ron Smallwood with Sanctuary Music. And obviously that's why they conquered the world like they did. But because they were with EMI, like I think Queen were as well, their stuff, it was always expensive. I remember in the 80s, unless something was made and was really good, you had to leave it behind. Because, I mean, the videos, like their VHS in them days, were like 22 quid. And when you're only bringing home 120, 130 quid a week or whatever, it was a big investment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's like in Canada, but over here, main stuff was always very expensive at the record store.
I don't think it was. I mean, I remember buying Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son, like on cassette when they first came out, and I think they were normal. I think $10, $15 maybe at that time. So it wasn't crazy expensive. No.
No.
Yeah. At first, when they were imports, but yeah, they ended up just blending right into the catalog with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we found that because it was EMI. If it was on EMI, it would depend on whose record label was pushing the stuff out. But Maiden, it was always big money. If you went to a record fair, they'd always charge you a bigger premium for a Maiden item than everything else. We didn't stop you buying them. We just had to save a bit hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yeah.
This one's going to be controversial. Very controversial because it'll be higher on somebody's list. But it was this one and the next one that caused me the second most problems. But I had to go with this one. And that was be a shock horror. Because this will probably make number one on some people's lists, or most people. Number of the Beast, Iron Maiden. Now, this record's got a lot of memories for me. It's big single was Run to the Hills. It's got all the big hits on there, like Number of the Beast, 22 Acacia Avenue. The song for me I love off here is Children of the Damned. That was it for me. That was a fantastic song. And The Prisoner, because I've lost count how many times, because my dad was a Prisoner fanatic. And it was a TV series that featured Patrick McGowan. And when I listen to that song, I've been to the Port Merion where it was filmed literally 20 or 30 times. And I know it really well, where all the beach bit and the big balloon comes into that. It was a massive TV series, but I mean, people are probably screaming it and say it should have made the top 3. But it's got some fantastic tracks on there. But it's not me sort of go-to Iron Maiden I pull out to play because I've sort of heard it so many times. But it'll stand forever. This record, it'll never date. But I came to the conclusion that some of the tracks I didn't like as much as I liked on my next 3 albums. You know what I mean? So that's why I gave it number 3. Number 3? Oh, sorry, number 4. Number 4. But on a lot of people's, this made number 1. But unfortunately, not on mine. But it's a killer album. You can't fault it. It's an absolute killer of an album.
Well, to the back of the bus for it, though.
Yeah. It's one of these things. It could have changed places with the next one, but I don't think it wouldn't change places with me top two. But this one, my number 4, could have changed places with number 3. But I like the next one better. And for reasons why I'm going to explain, that's why I relegated it to number 4. Like I say, this was so tough, but I had to look at it an objectional way, or I'd never got my top 5. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people in these ranks, it's obviously it's a lot of people's favourite album, but it's definitely not mine.
Yeah, you're right. Children of the Dam is just an absolutely amazing song. Yeah. I love the album, and I think we've all agreed, like, it had so much playtime over the last 30 years. But the song that I still don't, Gangland, was always the song that was like, I think it's like Steve with Blood Brothers.
Yeah.
Gangland, to me, when I hear it, I'm like, I skip it. And I always wonder, like, how did that song make it on the album? Because I don't like it. That don't mean that you don't like it. It was just one of those songs. I still don't like it to this day. Hallowed Be Thy Name, Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, amazing.
Yeah.
And I just cannot wrap my head around it.
Yeah, but that's it. But with this, I mean, don't get me wrong. Invaders was a good song. Number of the Beast, obviously, that was a big song. Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name was the huge one. 20. I won't go into what 22 Acacia Avenue was about on there. The Prisoner's a classic. There's not a bad song on there, but as I say, unfortunately, I found songs I like better on my next ones. But as I say, that would have probably made. I bet it's made someone's number 1 here. But that would probably make. If you did looked at a lot of people, that would probably make the number 1 on the rankings, but not mine, unfortunately.
I didn't want to talk much about it.
Yeah. Oh, Dan, should we do the number 3?
We can do the number 3, yep. So for me, for number 3, the album that came out in '88, and that was Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. When you talk about memory, Steve, this album is just one of those ones. When I was in high school, I played this album constantly. Like, if I wasn't playing this, I was playing Dokken, because I was a big Dokken fan too, right?
Yeah.
So, but this album got so much playtime for me when I was in high school.
Yeah.
It all starts out with Moonchild, Infinite Dreams, Can I Play With Madness? That was the big song.
Yeah.
To me, probably the worst song on the album. But, Only the Good Die Young, The Evil That Men Do, like, man, that's definitely still my favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
Along with the actual title track, too, with the Seven Son, Seven Son. Coming in at number 3 for me, and again, I had this at 5, I had it at 2, you know what I mean? I moved it around, and then I thought, at number 3, it's got to go with the Seventh Son. Amazing album. Absolutely love it.
It is, yeah. Because what people don't realise, it was the only concept album they ever did.
That's right.
And it was a bit like Rush's By Tour and the Snow Dog. It's the way I could compare it. And it was basically a battle between good and evil. And basically, what you had this hero, and they were trying to influence him to go down different paths. And also, the album was far more produced than the previous albums. But all the songs are killer and great songs. But just what I thought I'd mention that. But it was a concept album, and I'll talk about it. You may be hearing from me talking about it later. That's all I'm going to say on the subject. Okay. But I'll stop talking. Greg, do you want to come in with anything, man?
Yeah. That album didn't make my top 5.
Right.
I don't know. I think because I saw it live, they did it was the tour of, I don't know if it was playing all of it or something like that, but that was the theme of the tour. And I didn't know that album very well. So here I am bouncing these first couple, then it kind of went on, and then another song, well, I don't really know this. And, and I kept going. and I didn't know the songs that well, so then it ended up back to Running Free and Run to the Hills and all the Trooper. So it just felt like a sag in there, but it's not an album I grew up with, so I didn't get into it. I haven't given it a real chance, so it's just one of those albums I just haven't got into. So I don't know. I can't really say anything bad about it because I don't really know it that well, but I just remember watching it live and I thought, oh, another one, and because if you don't know it, and I'm way at the back kind of because it's so jammed. I was just on the floor, way at the back, and just sort of whatever. But that was just my little experience with it. I mean, if I sat down and cranked it in the car and went on the highway, then I could concentrate on it properly. And so who knows? That's just my thought of that one. I feel bad not agreeing, but
yeah. But no, I don't even know this. It was the first album. They sort of over here went from a small stadium band. It was the sort of first tour they started playing the huge stadiums over here. They sort of started playing at the NEC in the big stadiums. But as I say, I want to talk about this album. You could probably guess. I'm going to leave it till later before I discuss it any further, this record. And yeah, that's me done. Anybody else want to come in with anything or come in with number 3, Dan?
No, number 3 is, yeah. No, I think we're all good. So
right.
You're up for 3?
Sorry?
Are you up for number 3?
I thought, I don't know. I could do it if you want.
I just did Seventh Son for number 3.
Oh, it's me, is it? Sorry.
I think it's you then, Greg.
Yeah. Sorry, it's me going nuts. It's it's 11 o'clock here. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Now, this record to me could have swapped places with Number of the Beast, right? And it was the toughest one, the decision I had to make. And that was Peace. Sorry, I better put myself up. I'm getting sloppy. But this record, to me, it won it to me on one factor. And that's A Piece of Time. Or Peace of Mind, sorry. Now, the reason why it had some cracking music on it, and it's because of The Troopers, my favourite song of all time. But it's just a killer album. Die With Your Boots On's a 10 out of 10 all day long. Every single track's absolutely phenomenal. And it was produced, they called him Martin the Black Knight Birch. The first album that Nico McBain played on. And it's just a killer record. Can't fault it. And it's my third favourite record by Iron Maiden. And whether you lads agree with me or the people watching, some people would probably stick this as their number 1 best album. But Die With Your Boots On, The Trooper and Die With Your Boots On are probably the two of the best tracks they ever did. Trooper, right, my favourite song. That's why I put it ahead of Number of the Beast. But it's just an absolute killer of an album. Phenomenal. Everything you expect out of it, or you wish an Iron Maiden album to be. You can't sort of fault it. What do you think, Dan and Greg?
I think it's a great album. Where Eagles
agrees with me.
Where Eagles Dare, amazing song. The Trooper, You Are Revelations. I agree. It's definitely a top 3 album for sure.
Yeah, it made number 3. It could have swapped places with Number of the Beast. Again, I'm not a liar. And if anybody says to me, what's your favourite Iron Maiden album out of them two, I would say Peace of Mind was better than Number of the Beast in my book.
I agree. I'd say the same thing.
I didn't. but that just means I'm wrong. 2 against 1. And Rocket Rod rated at number 1. That's just saw. But
we can tell how good the next ones are going to be because they're better than Peace of Mind, sir. I told you it was a tough one.
I know. Okay, I guess I'll go with my number 3 now, and mine's Peace of Mind. And you mentioned The Trooper and one other
Die
one.
With Your Boots On, mate.
Yeah. Well, I've got 3 10 out of 10s out of the 9 tracks. The Trooper and Flight of Icarus, I think.
Yeah, Revelations is easily.
And Where Eagles Dare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Iron Maiden. Like, if you want to either of those three songs, if you want to just tell a Martian, this is what Iron Maiden sounds like, well, pick one of those three songs. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I gave it number 3, and I gave a 5 out of 5 for To Tame a Land, something or other. Is that what it's called? Yeah, To Tame a Land. I don't know why the last song I didn't get into, but anyways, if it's got 3 10 out of 10s, Revelations I gave a 9 out of 0, even though it's a little awkward and a little bit of the song, but I mean overall.
Flight to the Icarus is a killer track as well. That's a 10 out of 10.
Oh, that's a 10 out of 10 for sure. That should.
I agree.
That way underrated song, and it's nice because it's kind of a unknown, like a more of a deep track than anything than usual. But anyway, that's my thoughts on my number 3. Oh, I guess I could show the booklet. Oh, actually, Steve, you just bought some Montrose, right?
Yeah.
It should have the song "I've Got the Fire" on it, which Iron Maiden covers.
Yeah.
And bonus edition of this album, which I don't have, but they have their cover of "I've Got the Fire" from Montrose on there. So.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah, but anyway, that's a little trivia.
Yeah, because that would probably, if you ask a lot of diehard Maiden fans, that'll probably, Piece of Time will probably make the number 1. But it's just an absolute killer of an album. You can't fault it. Die with your boots on, The Trooper especially. It was written about the charge of Balaclava in the Crimean War. And I can listen to that. It's a song I could listen to repeat forever. And it's just so Iron Maiden. It's just so good. And, they're just so good. The songs, like, they're all memorable. Not like some of the modern stuff they've done. They're all memorable. And it's Fly to the Icarus, Revelation. Just great songs. It'll last for another timeless heavy metal album that'll never sort of go out of date or out of fashion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with 100%, Steve. It's an amazing album. It's a great album.
Yeah.
I With the Boots On is probably one of my favorite Maiden songs too.
It'll go in my top 5.
Yeah. Great album.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Amazing. So, Dan, we're now up on to number 2.
Well, my number 2.
Here we go.
Favorite album from my second favorite album from Iron Maiden would be Iron Maiden.
Right. Interesting.
I had this album, and then I had Killers in my top 5, and I took it out and I put this. There's not much left to need to say about this album. I absolutely love this album. Prowler, Running Free, Transylvania, Charlotte the Harlot, Iron Maiden. Like, I absolutely love this album. It came in at number 2 because I love Paul Di'Anno. And again, back in the day, this album got so much playtime. And that's why I put it at number 2. Again, I could have put it out of my top 5 and moved something in, but I was trying to stay true to this list, and this has to stay there. So number 2 is the classic from 1980, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. The only reason why I held up Killers was on the production, and also it was like Rothschild. But I'm not keen. I love Running Free. It's a classic.
So this little story about this cassette. There was a girl I dated in 1990. She was back to England to visit her grandparents, and I said, just pick me up something Iron Maiden. And she ended up picking me this cassette tape up.
Wow.
Somewhere in England. I don't know whereabouts where her grandparents lived, but such a cool piece to get from there overseas. So
that's a lovely story.
Yeah. So it had, to me, again, I was trying to stay true where I was with Iron Maiden in these rankings.
I can't knock you, mate. I mean, a lot of people, I've got one of my best mates, right? And he said Iron Maiden were finished after Number of the Beast. I said, what are you talking about? He said the only 3 Maiden records he's got in his collection are first, second, and third, Number of the Beast. Clive Burr was the drummer. But he said, as soon as Burr left, rest in peace, the whole dynamics changed musically. And he said, I don't know if people agree or disagree, but they reckon that Harris and Nico McBain didn't have the relationship he had with Burr. And, when Clive Burr was doing the drums and all that stuff, he said the first 3 Iron Maiden albums are musically superior, whether you agree or disagree, to the rest of the stuff. And as I say, anything with Dickinson, I said, well, he's easily the best singer. He says, nah. He says, give me the 2 Deanna and all the ones that Burr did. Them to him are the best Iron Maiden albums musically. And he won't entertain anything with Dickinson. He says, not Dickinson's voice, it's just musically doesn't like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just think that Iron Maiden album, it's not so raw. It's an amazing sounding album. And everything
Well,
about
Woman in Uniform, yeah, that's the one with the Thatcher cover.
Right. So for me, and I'm just, again, I'm a Paul Di'Anno fan, so I'm not being biased. I just think it's an amazing album.
Yeah. And me too. I mean to say, most purists to put that up at number 1. If you think Killers is better, it'll be definitely one of the Paul Di'Anno albums, Killers or that one.
I love Killers too. Yeah, that was a tough one for me.
Yeah. The only 2 ones I don't like off that one is Transylvania Song, and there's another track of that Iron Maiden, the actual song, with that stupid train and that woman on the tracks. Come on. I mean, it was 1980, but not a song I enjoyed.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Steve, what you got?
Oh, it's my turn.
Or is it Greg's turn?
Do you want me to go, Greg, or you? Do you want me to go for a change, or it's up to you, Greg?
Oh, I guess I'll go. So
I'm not bothered.
Number 2.
Number 2. Do a drum roll?
Yeah.
Think for myself.
Ah.
Yeah, I had to put it there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good high scores on this one. Gave Prowler a 9. Gave Remember Tomorrow 10 out of 10. Running Freeze a 10 out of 10. I don't even have to listen to that song.
All day.
The Opera 9. Transylvania 9 for an instrumental. Holy cow, that was great. Strange World I didn't like. That gave it a 6. But Sanctuary 9. The track Iron Maiden I gave an 8.0. And Charlotte the Harlot a 7.5. But yeah, it's just I just wish the guitar tone was a little more like the Dickinson era, but what do you do? It's their first album, probably the lowest budget and everything else. Like, it still sounded raw and heavy. It just sounded a little different from what I wanted. But yeah, no, that's got it. Look at that. That's all we needed was Steve to put his foot up onto the monitor, and then that picture's perfect. But
Yeah.
And notice how he's wearing you guys know why he's wearing those pants with the stripes on, don't you? Because there is a story behind it.
I don't know. What color are they?
It probably doesn't really matter the color, but just how it has those stripes.
I don't know. This one, the West Ham colours.
No. Oh, I guess I thought you guys would know this, but that's because I'm a big UFO fan. But Pete Way of UFO, the bass player, he started that trend, and I think even Def Leppard had the same thing. The bass player always had to wear. If the bass player is going to be a real bass player, he's going to have that Pete Way look with the long stripes, and then of course, Iron Maiden always plays UFO's Dr. Doctor before every concert. And boy, did I love hearing that before Iron Maiden 2 days in a row. I'm like, give UFO some credit. And, Harris, and they're from England too. So, yeah. But
it's weird because Iron Maiden at the time, if you ask what their biggest influence is, they always cite Blue Oyster Cult. And I'm trying to work that one out. Because whenever you see an Iron Maiden interview, and they say, what was your influences? Blue Oyster Cult's an important influence on them. It always seems to crop up.
I could see that a lot because I know a lot of the earlier Blue Oyster Cult because they have some hard-charging, fast songs. And then they have, like, Astronomy is a slow, mystical song, but has a great guitar solo. Like, they're very similar, real thinking man's heavy metal. That's what the States, they tried to have Sandy Pearlman, the guy from the label or whatever, they wanted to make American Black Sabbath, so they had that, but they just had it more of a thinking man's heavy metal, and Maiden just took it another step, way further now later. But
because in the UK you had galloping heavy metal was Iron Maiden, then you had screaming heavy metal was Judas Priest.
Yeah, and Bruce Dickinson, one of his favorite singers, apparently was Ian Gillan.
Yeah.
And he got to play with them on stage. I've seen footage where they're years later, there's Gillan and there's Dickinson on the same stage. And I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good guy to try and copy is Ian Gillan.
And also, Dickinson was stupid enough to do a duet with Rob Alford that got into the charts here. And it was on the Resurrection album. I forgot what it's called now. It was a bit like Freddie Mercury and David Bowie. You know, Freddie Mercury blew Bowie off the stage, and he had to sing sort of. It was a bit of a mismatch. Even Dickinson couldn't touch Alford, but I don't like the song anyway. But they did it. This is just a bit of useless information. But Dickinson did do a duet with Alford.
Those two guys should be doing the best songs in rock history together. What a waste!
Yeah.
I agree.
Not together, separate, but not together.
But they recorded the song in different studios and they're on the same.
I don't know. It's one of these duet things, but you're sort of thinking Dixon was good. Alford was like the master. You know what I mean? He's sort of Alford. It's like one of these like Bowie versus Mercury situations. But the song, I forgot what it's called now. But it wasn't. I think it was Something You Love to Hate or something. It was a really horrible song. You have to Google it. It's Something You Love to Hate or something. It's just not a good song, So yeah, it was. I sort of fast forward that one as well. Something You Love to Hate. It'll be on my mind. I might Google it in a minute, but yeah. So I take it's my turn with number 2. Now this was the toughest one of the lot, but I had to do it. And I couldn't find the album to save my life, but I found this. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And this is the... hang on, is it? This is... I don't know what this... This is a Can I Play With Madness? I don't know what this is actually. But I think this is the single with bonus tracks or something. This is the nearest I've got. And you get a lot of bonus tracks. But yeah, Seventh Son's got to be my second favourite album. For the simple reason was it was a concept album. The track listings, apart from Moonchild, all the songs are phenomenal. Infinite Dreams is a good song. The Evil Men Do is a brilliant song. The best one off it is Only the Good Die Young for me. I like Can I Play With Madness? And another underrated song off that album was The Clairvoyant, another phenomenal song. But I've already gone into the history of the album. It was actually their 7th album. That's another reason why it was called The Seventh Son. It was actually their 7th album. But it was overproduced, like good concept albums. And to me, it's just absolutely phenomenal. The songwriting, lyrically wise, it was a different level. Musically, it was good. And you can't fault that one. But that's my number 2, folks. And I know we talked about it a lot, and I'll shut up. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Boy, have I lost any street cred I had with you two. Yeah. Oh, well, that's the fun of the list.
It is, and you're right, Steve. I absolutely love the album for the memories when I was living that years in the late '80s, and it seemed like wherever you went at one time, that album was either being played at a party or I always had a cassette tape in my jean jacket, so I always had tapes wherever I went. But that one came with me. Yeah. Probably that one and Justice for All, Metallica came with me just about everywhere.
Yeah.
But I agree, Seven Sons.
It's just an amazing killer album. I mean, it starts off, it's like a story. And it's just, it's phenomenal. It's, you just can't fault it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's me number 2. Now, this is where we get ourselves all in trouble. Is there anything anybody else wishes to add before we all get ourselves into serious trouble? Shall we all go home and say, well, part 2 will follow next week and then keep everybody waiting? Come on, let's go. Sorry, folks, this show's the part 2 will, the last one, it will come back next week when we thought about it.
We'll play cliffhanger, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to go first for a change, or do you want to?
She's your show.
Right. Okay, then. This album, to me, yes, Rod, I agree. Drum roll. I had no doubts in my mind about this record from the word go. And this is, to me, my favourite Maiden album. And when this challenge was proposed last week, and they said to me, "What's the best Iron Maiden album?" This one was it. It's not changed. It still remained my favourite album, and that's Power Slave. The simple, the simple reason is Dan's mentioned most of it, but what he said about it was fantastic. The first track, Aces High, that was a 10 out of 10, but 2 Minutes to Midnight is probably one of the best tracks in heavy metal. If you listen to some of the lyrics, like the goose is cooked, never out of fashion and all this, and it's very tongue-in-cheek, but the guitar work is just a killer song. Then you've got the best song on here is Back in the Village. Now, that's got a great guitar work, and that's sort of very underrated song off here. Listen to that. It's just, it's like, I could describe that. It's like, if you like UFO and Michael Schenker, you like that song. Power Slave's a 10 out of 10. And the big song off it, and what Dan said, I was trying to keep a straight face and shut up, because I felt if I have a conversation with Dan, I will reveal what my number one was. What he said about Rime of the Ancient Mariner, you're 100% right in my book. It was the perfect song. Now, everybody said it's too long, especially the middle bit. I think for atmospheric rock, they got it perfect. Steve Harris's bass after the creaking ship, and he got the ship moving, was absolutely perfect. Dickinson's vocals were perfect. How he could perform that night after night with a big ship on the stage, it was phenomenal. And it's just the perfect song for me. And it was based on a poem by Coleridge, if you don't know, Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Yep. But to me, if anybody says it's too long, I say, well, listen to it again. It's just Iron Maiden perfection. And as I say, you can't criticise anything about that song. It's just perfection in my book. But this is to me the best Iron Maiden album. I've got no qualms about saying it. It's by a sort of like country mould in my book. And that's my favourite Iron Maiden album, folks.
Okay, it was neat you mentioned one of these deep track songs, because I didn't really remember that song. Back in the Valley, or Back in the Village?
Back in the Valley.
Holy cow, that's like Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic or something.
Back in the Village, sorry, mate.
That just
check it out.
That thing, why don't they ever play that live? Because I've got lots of live.
I think they have recently.
Wow, because it's right up there. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Because apparently it was inspired, I think, Michael, because when you mentioned UFO, I kept quiet. But apparently that one was actually inspired by Schenker and UFO, the guitar. But it's just got a killer introduction. It's a really, really good song. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, I'm going to play that a lot. And the other question I had from what you said was, is Rime of the Ancient Mariner a better song than Hallowed Be Thy Name? If you could only pick one? And there's only one. But
I would have to. Oh God, I'd probably go for Rime. I have to go for that one. I think.
Whoa.
Be Thy Name.
You too, Dan?
Yeah.
Over Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Hello is a great song, but I said Rime's my favorite Iron Maiden song, and nothing's changed. Still is. I love
this. It's just a perfect song. I mean, when you can do a song that long. And you go, people say it's too long. They don't realise the brilliance of it in my book. And there's also, it's too long, it's too this. They're just missing the point. If you read Coleridge's poem, that was long. And, the song, but it's just metal perfection to me. Steve Harris makes it, I can't sing it, but that sort of slow bit, we get the bass bit, and all of a sudden Harris goes, dun, dun, like it goes faster. And you get the creaking ship. It's just so good.
Right around the 10-minute mark of that song.
Yeah.
When that song comes after that slow bit, and it all of a sudden back into the fastness again.
Then Dixon screams, and it's just perfection. And the whole stage explodes, which you couldn't do now under the health and safety over it. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Yep, I completely agree, 100%.
Yeah.
So I've got a little story about Hallowed Be Thy Name, how I heard about that song. I had written it off, I guess. I heard the album and just kind of skipped it too long because I don't have a lot of patience for slower songs because I like fast songs. But this guy over the phone says, well, do you know this Hallowed Be Thy Name? I go, well, yeah, I guess, but I probably didn't really like it. So he said, well, just listen. So he put the phone up where I could hear it, or the stereo up to where his phone was. And he kept playing it. And then he'd talk after a minute or two. And he goes, well, what do you think? I go, wow, this is starting to get good. And then this starting to get really good. And it just kept going and going. I'm like, is this still going? Like, is this phone still on? Is this mic on? Like, yeah, unbelievable. So that just blew me away. Yeah, so that was a little story about Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Yeah.
It's still a great song, though. I love that song too. So
Yeah. She's great. Yeah, it's great. I mean, to be brutally honest, choosing your favourite 3 albums is lining up all your kids and picking out your favourites. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was tougher than the Judas Priest challenge. But number 1 for me was Power Slave. That was the only one that I knew from the very beginning was going to stay at number 1. To me, it's just rock and roll perfection or heavy metal perfection. But Aces got to be it's a great start. Aces high, then it gets better. 2 minutes to midnight, and then you got the Power Slave, which is a good song, and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Absolutely amazing songs. Back in the Village. That's why I picked that one. Because you'll like that one, Greg. It's got a great guitar intro. But yeah, it's just an amazing record. Absolutely phenomenal. And as I say, it was the Live After Death album. And that was the album they were touring at the time. And one of the greatest, probably arguably one of the greatest metal concert albums of all time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, who was to go next?
I know, it's hard, isn't it?
Okay, Dan pointed first.
He figured it out first. Okay. Well, this shocked me.
You got to be faster at pointing.
Well, I had thought this was going to be my number 5. So we'll do it this way, I guess, if this makes any sense. But Power Slave, I gave, out of all the songs on the album, I gave it 7.975 out of 10. So that's like an 8 out of 10 album. Killers, I gave 8. That's number 4. 3, Peace of Mind, 8.3. So they're all really close. Then the self-titled was second, and then number 1 was Nature of the Beast, and I thought it was going to be number 5 going into this.
Number of the Beast.
But I gave it number 1. That sounds too commercial, like, oh, he just picks the popular one, and he,
no,
whatever. But it really shocked me because the last time I listened to it, I kind of didn't really think it was that great. I thought, well, except for the great songs. But then now that I sat down and really just concentrated with no one bugging me, just full blast. Give it the true test, which is what we all used to do in the early 80s. You'd put a record on, turn the lights out, lie down on the couch, and just shut your eyes and listen. But it's hard to nowadays. But yeah, number 1 is Nature of the Beast.
Well, I'll be surprised if that didn't make number 1, someone's number 1. Because everybody, like the Krang, is the best metal number ranking system in my mind is the Krang. I always look at that one to find out which are the best albums. And even they said, I think Number of the Beast was number 1 record of all time for them.
Yeah, it just seemed too easy and obvious a pick. It's like someone doing a random Black Sabbath thing and just saying, well, it's got to be Paranoid, and then not thinking. But yeah, that's what ended up happening just by accident. Because when I wrote down, I saved it all to the last to multiply them all out, and I went, how did this happen?
Yeah,
but that was fun. That was great. I love that. It's fun.
Well, I mean, love the Number of the Beast is a classic. There's no 2 ways about it. It's just for me. I like this Piece of Time, Seventh Son, and Power Slave. I like songs off them 3 better than I do on Number of the Beast, and that's why Number of the Beast got to number 4 in my list. I analysed it in my head. I did it on the paper. I listened to them. I didn't have to listen to Power Slave. I listened to the other 2, Seventh Son and Piece of Time. I thought I like them songs better than I do like Number of Beast, so that's why it got to number 4.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, right, another Seventh Son would have probably been my number 1 a couple 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, maybe. But Power Slave's always been up there with me. And I knew it straight away when we did this. I thought Power Slave first, whatever's next falls into order. Like,
Yeah.
Well, Dan,
You're not getting out of this.
yeah, I'm going to do the drum roll. Hang on a second.
Yeah. Don't need a
You
drum.
can't go home.
Okay, so not my number one.
I thought it would be. No. I thought it would be. No.
Not my number one. Not my number one.
No.
Probably gonna get crapped on for all three of those not being my number one album. But again, I'm staying true to this list. This has been my favorite Iron Maiden album since 1986, and it's Somewhere in Time.
Wow.
I know Steve's not a fan, but I remember seeing the video for Stranger in a Strange Land, and there was something about that song. I fell in love with the song, and then rushed out and I got the cassette tape. And to this day, if I never heard Wasted Years again, I'd be all right with that. But every other song that's on this album, from Caught Somewhere in Time to Sea of Madness, Heaven Can't Wait, they're all great songs. Alexander the Great, it's a long song. Yeah. But my number one all-time Iron Maiden album, and it's been my favorite album for a lot of years. Nothing's ever going to change. Still my number one album today. And again, it's Somewhere in Time, and I know that's probably going to be shocking to a lot of people, but
no,
it's just the way it is, right? It's got to be that way. It's my personal. Yeah. I love the album. I love everything about it, and it's my number one album.
Yeah, I can't knock it, mate. I mean, I like Heaven Could Wait's a classic. I do like Wasted Years. I do like the album, but again, the problem is looking at it objectively. I weighed up my options. It would never have made the top five, but there were songs on the top five, like I preferred Wrathchild over that album. I wanted to showcase like Paul Di'Anno, and because it was Martin Birch's first, but Somewhere in Time would definitely make me top 10 easily. But it wouldn't make me top five. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. It's a killer album. Great record.
Oh. And it was... moment. It was just, I remember that teenage years when I was walking around the high school. Same thing. I had one of those 3/4 cuts t-shirts and Iron Maiden, and it was Somewhere in Time, and I wore that so much you could see through it at the end of it. Yeah. And I remember driving my parents crazy. Like my mother would be like, "Wear something else. You wear that every day," and it's what I. Right.
I wasn't allowed to dress like that because we was very conservative, especially Nan. And if I dressed in jeans and black t-shirt in them days, they would have probably put me into care. They would disown me. That's how it was in our family. And I lived in a rural area, Lincolnshire. It was right out in the sticks. And, it was like they just wouldn't let you do it. I mean, I was there for the Bay City Rollers thing, and everybody wore the tartans. Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
Then I was into the heavy metal, fast forwarding it, and you wouldn't be allowed to go around. You had to wear skulls. They used to measure your hair. You had to wear the tie. You had to be a certain length. And I mean, one lad got suspended or expelled or whatever you call it for bringing a 7-inch record into school. It wasn't a posh school. It was just a normal secondary school. That's how it was in the 70s over here. They still had caning, which is illegal now. But you wasn't free to express yourself. You had not like it is now with all this PC stuff. You had a very secular education. And if I bought my Iron Maiden collection in, I would have probably got expelled forever and excommunicated from the community and burnt on the stake or something for real. It was, it was just, you couldn't do it in them days. Not me anyway.
Oh, we did it like when I was in grade 10, grade 11, 12, college. I wore metal t-shirts. Maiden, Slayer, Dokken. But I wore heavy metal t-shirts to school every single day. And I can remember I had this Slayer South of Heaven, and teachers would approach me about it and be like, it's who I am. It's what I do. It's what I listen to. It's the bands I like. And
that's one of the most cleverest album titles there is as well. When you think about it, it was South of Heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really clever. It's
I had
very
longer than Greg's, I think.
sorry.
I had hair longer than Greg's.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you have a picture?
Well,
You don't have a picture handy.
I don't know, but I can get one though.
Oh, okay. Well, next time.
The next time I'll get one. Well, I'll show you.
Well, you would have had all the girls then.
yeah, we'll have to run. I'll bring out the wig next week if we're on next week. I promise you. And yeah, we'll do.
Yeah.
It's in the bedroom, and when they did all my fire alarms, you can see above. If you look above my head, there's a plate just there.
Yeah.
And that's a water sprinkling device. They've just installed it all, and the wig ended up in the bedroom. I can't get in there because that's where all the stuff ended up. I've got halfway through it, but once I fish it out, I'll wear it one of the times for a laugh.
Oh, there
yeah, one of them.
Just improve my looks by 50%.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably 60, 50, 60.
Yeah. Well, Steve can let me. Steve, did you ever hear a documentary of a funny rock band over there, Bad News?
Oh, yeah, I saw him.
Sort of looks like Greg out there. Look, that's Blackmore Rules and Bad News.
Yeah. So I always like the drummer. He made me laugh just looking at the guy.
Yeah,
You remember him, the big moustache?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was so fun. I mean, they made the second film. That wasn't very good, but the first one was awesome.
Oh, the first
You
one.
saw the drummer, and he sort of, you just had to look at him, and I was cracking up.
Yeah.
Which is so funny. It was hilarious.
I still have that recorded on a VHS tape that it was shown on Much Music, Bad News, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bad
Oh,
News
I want to thank you as well. You've put me onto one of the best CDs I've heard for ages. Medusa. You know it was on your Facebook page the other week. It was Medusa.
Oh, by Jack Russell and Tracy Guns.
Yeah, I listened to it and I bought it. Absolutely amazing record.
Yeah, I agree. Completely awesome album. I've been playing. Well, I've been playing it since the day I got it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Andy
I don't know if
Scott.
Blackmore would like this or not.
Yeah.
I love LA Guns and I love Great White, and this album will probably rank very, very high.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely amazing album.
Yeah, mine's coming next week. And Greg, check it out, mate, because the song I sent you weren't the best track. I thought I'd sent you the album, but I hadn't. Apparently, you can't send the album. You only can send it one track. But you check it. Go on YouTube tonight and check it out. There's some phenomenal tracks off it. If you like Tracy Guns, LA Guns' first album, you like that.
So Jack Russell's voice on this sounds just like he came off the Twice Shy album.
Yeah.
Not better. Like his vocals, it's amazing on this album. Like it's good to see a guy like Jack still around, still playing, still singing. Again, I'm a huge Great White fan, so yeah, great album.
Hey Dan, do you know a band called Talk? Is it Talk? TOQUE or TOQUE?
No, I can't say I have.
I have. If it's the same one, at a concert in British Columbia, outdoor concert, it even came up when I was watching the Headpins on the side. And one of the choices was Darby Mills singing with Took, and they seem to be on the little BC local festival circuit. I see the name the odd time, but I don't really know what they sound like. I didn't listen to it, but I just remembered, oh, there's Took again. Yeah. They're always sort of the low guy on the bill, but I don't know where they're from or what they are or anything.
No, but I'll definitely check that out, though.
Yeah.
Then, of course, on Monday, my copy of the new Saxon album comes in. I pre-ordered it. I still don't have it. Then I got an email today saying to be here on Monday. I don't know if you guys have heard it yet, but it's a of an album.
Yeah, I'm I'm thinking of buying the new Uriah Heep album.
Yeah, I heard it too. I haven't heard that yet, but I heard it was really good. And
also, is Accept got a new album coming out this year? I'm sure they have as well this year.
Yeah, they're working on a new album. It's supposed to be like late summer.
I think it's released this year. That's the one I always buy, the new Accept. I can't wait to hear that.
The last 5 Accept albums with Mark on vocals.
Yeah.
If all been amazing.
Don't Drink the Kool-Aid. It's got to be one of my favourite tracks of all time.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Right? It's
what is Kool-Aid? We don't get it over here. I know it's something American. Do you get it in Canada? Is it some sort of drink or something?
Yeah, it's just little packets. You rip them up, you pour them in water, just like you add a little sugar. That's all it is.
We don't get that over here.
Right. So, but the story behind that song and what it's all about, I remember when I first heard that album, I was like, oh man, like that's got a lot of punch to that song. So it's a great album. But Mark, even with TT Gunn, phenomenal vocalist. I love everything Mark done with those last 5 or 6 Accept albums.
And even do you like the symphonic one as well?
Yeah.
That's good as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah.
It's easy the best because another band have got 2 or 3 bands have gone symphonic, but I think the Accept is easy by far the best one.
Yeah. They put those last string of albums, and Saxon's the same thing. Those last string of albums they put out have all been amazing.
Yeah, Life's a Bitch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But do you think this putting you in a spot? Udo or that new fella? I can't think of his name. You probably told me. I forgot. Who do you think was the best with Accept?
Vocally?
Yeah.
I'd probably stick with Udo. But the problem is it's because I was listening to Accept in the 80s.
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean? I was so used to that album.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I remember when Blood in the Nations come out, and it was like, well, I'm going to check it out, see what this new Mark guy sounds like. And I remember seeing the video for Teutonic Terror and was like, holy dying. Like, I can't believe how awesome this. And that CD, that never left my truck for months. I played that so much. And then, of course, when Blind Rage come out,
yeah,
fantastic. And then I got right on that Mark kick, and it was just those albums couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah. But that's that. I'll have to go 50. I'm going to have to go in between. I can't decide. I mean, Udo he was there from the beginning, but this guy, new guy, it's a case of a band that's, you could say I wouldn't say got better. It's maintained its standard, doesn't it? It's not sort of like standard slides. What conditioner are you using, Greg? That's a good question.
I'll go get it.
All of the albums with Mark, this is the one that had Kool-Aid on it.
Yeah.
Stalingrad, all amazing.
Oh, album. Stalingrad, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Stalingrad's a great album. That one got a lot of playtime too when I first got it. So, but Accept is one of those bands. Doesn't matter what albums they put out, I buy.
They're always good. Is that what's his name? Is it? I can't think of it. The guitarist of Accept.
Oh,
you know who I mean? The German.
Yeah.
Wolf something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's another underrated guitarist. He is.
Well, he's the. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is the Accept. I mean, he's the head guy. Yeah, Wolf. I can't remember.
Wolf Hoffman. That's it.
Wolf Hoffman.
Oh, this quick. Hang on, I'll put you on the big screen. You get that over here.
Chocolate syrup.
Yeah, you can't beat it. I might start using that myself, see if I can promote some growth.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah. I have great kids.
I'm a married man. I'm going to get too many girls, so I better take it off.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. You can come around my house. Yeah. Well, anybody got anything they want to add, talk about, or?
No, I found Took on YouTube. Took featuring Darby Mills Rock Fest and so on, and Took doing a version, looks like studio, and they've got way better songs than that one, actually. I think, but that's their most famous, I guess. That was their hit song.
Yeah,
It's kind
do me a favour, Greg. When we finish, before you do anything else, check out Back in the Village off Power Slave and tell me what you think about it. See what you think. I think you'll love it when you hear it.
Oh, I heard it. It was a 9 out of 10. I
Yeah.
ranked it 10. I believed it. So yeah, I heard it. I heard it. So I know how good it is. I don't know why I didn't know about that song all these years, because it's as good as Aces High type thing. Like it's on that A
Yeah,
level.
Duelist is not bad either. There's a couple of tracks I've known for ages. I thought Duelist is not bad, but yeah, it's number one for me.
Which one did you say on?
It's off Power Slave. Back in the Village.
Yeah, you said another song, I think.
Duelist. That's not a bad track either.
The Duelist.
Well,
I gave that a 7.
Yeah, but Back in the Village. That's an awesome song.
Yeah.
No. Anybody want to add anything?
What do you think of this, Greg? You remember
Hang
these?
on, mate.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw them live. I got to interview them on the radio. I got to see them outdoors at a festival in Merritt, BC. But anyway, I got to meet the band before the show, and the guitarist, he just says, "Oh, well, we got to go on now. Do you want to come up and watch from the side of the stage?" Like,
Yeah.
whoa! Like I've never done that with any band in my life, and it sounded perfect. It didn't have the tricycle though. That's their famous thing. The singer would always ride around on a little tricycle. That was their gimmick. But that in at the time when I talked to him, he said it was in some Florida or maybe a hard rock cafe in Florida. So I thought it should have been the Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
That's a great. Stand Tall's a great album. For me, it's Dirty Weapons is still one of my favorites. Actually, yesterday, I posted a video or a picture. You remember Svengali?
I know the name. I don't think he's anything I've heard. I know he's a Canadian musician. But
He was like so from 91, 92, just a rocker of an album. So I haven't heard it in a long time. Cranked that up yesterday, just trying to keep it. You know what I mean? Because I remember I saw Svengali at a little bar in Moncton, and I lost my hearing for 3 days.
oh,
So when
Must have been good then.
when I went to the doctor to talk to them, they said, "Well, how close were you to the speakers?" And I said, "I was leaning on the Marshall stack."
yeah.
It was the place was packed, but
Yeah.
that I stood the whole time beside a Marshall, and I lost my hearing for 3 days.
I think that's what knackered my hearing up, because you can't do it now. And it was a big thing for me. It was Springsteen at Villa football ground, funny enough. And apparently the speakers, you know what Springsteen's like, 4 hours, 20 minutes, they had the decibels too high. And apparently it was totally illegal. There was complaints about it. They tested it. It was, they've got strict rules, how many decibels, how they measure sound. I'm no expert, but when you go to a concert in the UK, it only could be a certain loudness. But you knew it was going to be loud when the first song came on, because your whole spine started, you could feel your spine move up and down in your ears. And I'm pretty sure that's the one that started my tinnitus. And it was a phenomenal gig. But that's the loudest gig I've ever been to. It's even louder than Priest and Iron Maiden. It sounded a lot loud, even louder than Agate on a Friday night, and that's saying something. But that's what the loudest gig I've ever been to. And apparently, sorry?
The last time I saw Maiden, Ghost opened up for them. Ghost was louder than Iron Maiden.
Wow. That's a funny band with me, because a lot of my friends like Ghost.
I like it.
I can't get into them. It's a bit like that other band, Primal, something. Another lad said, "You got to check this band out. They're huge, and everybody raves about them." And I just can't get into. I can't. What's it called? It begins with P. It's 2 words. Something Primal, something, or Paramore, something. I don't know.
Is it Primal Fear?
No, I can't think. But this band is so popular, and everybody raves about it. But I just can't get into it. I'll find out for you. It's they got everybody in the VC sort of goes, "Oh yeah, they're fantastic." Not to me, they ain't. It's like Ghost is another band. I just can't get into them.
trying to think of what that would be.
Shit, oh, gives you P. Something, P something. Oh, the man. Rod, help me out, mate. Oh. Everybody in the VC, I think Scott Waters likes them as well. Begins with P. I just can't. There's nothing there. You know, it's not memorable. It's just maybe I'm getting too old for heavy metal. Primal Fear, that's it.
Primal Fear?
Yeah, that's it. So they've done about, what, 7 or 8 albums?
Oh, they got a lot of albums.
Yeah.
I know that probably 6 or 7 of them, but he has almost the same vocals as Rob Halford.
Yeah.
Some of the early albums, he has the same vocal. He can hit the high notes, everything. He sounds a lot like Rob Halford, I find. Primal Fear is just a straight-up power metal band.
I'll have to check them out again.
And I didn't get introduced to them until about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was it. Heard them. That was it. Started buying their stuff, right?
Yeah, well, I checked out 3 CDs once, and there was nothing on them that would make me rush to the record store and buy them, or, in my case, open my laptop and go on eBay or something and buy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to do it.
Yeah.
Strange. Have you heard of them, Greg?
Pardon me?
Have you heard of Primal Fear?
I know the name, but I think they're out of my genre. I think they're like Gamma Ray or some of these little bit more on the edge of more faster.
Yeah. Gamma Ray is another one of those. It's that power metal, which that's a genre I absolutely love. The Gamma Ray.
You can't beat German power metal. Exactly. Check out a band called Brainstorm.
Love Brainstorm.
Yeah, you'll like them as well, Greg. To me, one of the best albums I ever heard was a band called Brainstorm. It's just pure German genius. I think Crocus, bless him, Renee introduced me to him. But check out Brainstorm. Most of their albums sound same-ish. Yeah, I got that feeling. But they just didn't. It's one of these bands. It just it's a bit like Senjutsu with Maiden. I may be wrong. I'll give them another go. But there's just nothing there screaming to say buy this.
Are Primal Fear like Iron Savior? Because Iron Savior, I've heard a few slower mid-tempo songs, and they play them fantastic. It's just most of the songs were a little bit too much double bass kind of thing for me. When they slowed it down a bit, they sounded excellent.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would have that same sound, but you'd have to really check out some of their early albums to either appreciate them or like them. Again, it was the early albums that I listened to, and some of the albums, especially the early ones, was like, holy, this guy's got such a Rob Halford vocal tone. That was it. And I heard them. That was it. I liked them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, let's try. Give them another go. See if I can get into them.
But there's always bands like that. You always want to give a second chance. Because, like, here, for example, there's a hard rock metal band called In Flames. And
hi, Aaron.
And I've tried to get into them, and I can't get into them at all. So
yeah.
No, I can't get into them at all either.
Condition Red is a cracker. I'll have to give that. Would you say that was the best record? I'll have to give that a go and see what I think of it.
Oh, Condition Red, yeah, that's an absolutely amazing album. It's a great album.
Yeah,
definitely made my top 10 for sure for last year.
There's a lot of new records at the moment. I just can't get into. I mean, the one I've really been trying my best to the last 6 months is probably less than that, is the new Doro. I can't get into. There's nothing on there that screams. You've got 2 solos with Rob Halford. There's nothing on there that says Steve by me. So I've left it in the record store. You know what I mean? There's a lot of metal records at the moment. And you listen to them and say, well, there's just nothing there.
Another great album.
Yeah.
Here, Metal Commando. This was ranked really high on one of my lists. Absolutely amazing album as well. So check them out. Maybe give them another spin or not.
I'll give them a spin and see. I'll do it later or tomorrow because it's getting late here. But I'll do it tomorrow and see what I think of them and give them another go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I would like to know, Metal Theologian, either he tells us his top 5 Iron Maiden or his top 3 or even
yeah,
his,
me too, Aaron. You're not
or his
getting off
number one.
lightly, mate, for joining the show late.
Yeah,
Let's
even
hear
just
your
one
top
is-
5 Iron Maiden records. Spill.
So he might not have heard what ours were. So mine was Nature of the Beast. That was my number 1.
Yeah.
And you guys can tell him what your guys' were.
Mine was Power Slave at number 1, Seventh Son at number 2, Peace of Mind number 3, Number of the Beast number 4, and Killers at number 5.
Okay, and I'll give him my top 5. Number 5 was Power Slave, 4 Killers, 3 Peace of Mind, 2 the self-titled, and then Nature of the Beast.
Yeah, number 5 was Brave New World. Number 4 was Seventh Son. Or no, sorry, 4 was Power Sleeve. Seventh Son, Iron Maiden, and Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
Only studio albums because
Yeah,
we
no
all
live.
Live After Death or a Real Dead one. Those would actually, I forgot about that live album too.
Yeah.
Made in Japan. That's such a perfect name because I love Deep Purple Made in Japan. It's one of my favorite all-time albums. So Iron Maiden just happens to come out with Made in Japan. It's perfect.
Yeah, I've seen it in tape and vinyl, but I don't think they released it on CD yet. But I may be wrong.
I don't think they ever have. No,
So if you want the album, it's an expensive buy. It's not going to come cheap because it's quite rare.
Yeah.
That's all I know on it. Let's check Discogs or somebody, but I know it's going to cost you a pretty penny, that one, if you want to buy it in an album.
Hey Dan, what's the track listing on Made in Japan? I can't remember because it's probably going to be an interesting track listing.
It is.
Running Free will be on there, I would think.
Running Free. Just hold on. I just put the cassette tape. So you had Running Free, Remember Tomorrow, Rothschild, Killers, and Innocent Exile.
Okay,
So that's the first 2 albums.
There you go.
Who was on Deanna on vocals, yeah?
Piano on vocals.
Yeah, that would be extreme. I don't think they put that one on CD. I'm sure they didn't. I think it was just album and tape deal.
I know the tape was going for a pretty penny on Discogs.
Yeah.
So, and this one's literally brand new, except I got my name on the inside of it, but.
That's a sort of fabled album. It's one I've never seen before, but I know it's not going to come cheap. It definitely ain't. It's a £30 plus album all day long. Probably a lot more than that now.
Yeah.
The other one to mention about Iron Maiden is the Roundhouse tapes. You know about the Roundhouse tapes?
I've heard of them. I'm not familiar with them.
I don't think I've ever heard them. I think they're on YouTube, but I think they're the early, before the first album songs, I think. I could be wrong. I have to. But the Roundhouse, I drove by it in England when we did a tour of the Beatles.
Yeah. Oh, I know it now. Yeah.
It is around.
Yeah. It goes back to the sort of hundreds of years ago.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, UFOs played there too, I believe. So, and probably tons and tons of other bands. But yeah, so that's supposed to be really expensive.
Is it official or boot?
Probably. Or probably unofficial. I don't think it's ever been.
I don't think it'll be official. Yeah.
I
read something about that. It's funny you mentioned that. I can't remember. I read something about the Roundhouse tapes or something. That name. That's why I said I've heard of them. The Roundhouse in London, I know that goes back right sort of back to the beginning of history of London. But it's a circular building, and I think they have plays and stuff, the Victorian stuff, and goes way back before then, obviously. But yeah, I know the Roundhouse.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard those or remember or heard of those, so I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah, check them out. I was reading an article online the other day. I don't know who it was about, but it mentioned the Roundhouse tapes, and I just can't. My brain's not working at the moment. I just can't think what in context I read them. But
I know I just saw a new box set that just came out not long ago. Motorhead box set, 5 live albums in this CD box set. I can't remember what it was called now. The Lost Tapes.
Could it be?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it could be where I got it from. Or someone's bought out a record and they were on there, or it was, or they're trying to get,
I see that. The band Opeth put out a live album called The Roundhouse Tapes, but
Yeah.
not the one we want.
Soundhouse Tapes is 4 figures.
It'll take me. Yeah, it all comes up Opeth, which is ridiculous.
Still waiting for your favourite Iron Maiden. Oh, yeah.
Oh, did he?
Still waiting to hear your Iron Maiden, Aaron, your favourite one. I've got a story behind that album, Dan. Do you want to hear it?
Yep.
When my cousin was alive, he died. I was very close to my cousin, but sadly we lost him a few years back. He was only 41, 42 when he went. And it was so unexpected. He literally just dropped dead at he used to do Krav Maga, and he went to training one night, hit the deck, and he was dead. And it took us all surprised. And it's that, believe it or not, it's one of my most prized possessions. And he bought that No Sleep to Hammersmith when it came out, and I've still got it in my collection in the bedroom. And he bought it. It was the date release. I think it was 78, but I might be right. It might have been later. I forgot what I think it was early 80s or late 70s, I'll say, because number work's not my strong point at this time of night. But yeah, he bought the album when it came out, and it's still in my record collection. I'll never sell it, never trade it. And it was his favourite album, so it's a big album for me.
Yeah, obviously I'm a massive Motorhead fan too. So
yeah.
Oh, the Ace of Spades would still be my all-time favorite album. Orgasm would be probably number 2. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Snakebite Love, another great one. So
yeah.
Motorhead, when I get in a Motorhead mood and I start playing Motorhead, I play. I'll play Motorhead for a week straight and not put anything else in the car except Motorhead. So, but it's funny. I don't even know how stumbled across being such a big Motorhead fan, but I think it's just Lemmy and rock and roll. He was just such a I love it. Oh, Peace of Mind, number 1.
Yeah, that was my number 3, Aaron. That was my number 3. That was.
Yeah, I'd like to comment. 2 of us know what's going on.
That's all we need. As long as there's 2 of us, we're fine.
Yeah.
But that one, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, it'll be in my collection. But Motorhead were the only sort of rock band, because you've got to remember when their stuff came out, it was a great punk revolution in the late 70s. And a lot of bands were struggling, like Queen struggled horrendously bad. And a lot of people were, because it was the punk. But Motorhead were the only band that got it right. Their music, sort of a lot of punks, you're going to see Motorhead. And a lot of my punk friends always, when Lemmy was about, used to always go down and see Motorhead all the time when they were on tour. Like, they sort of crossed over into the 2 genres very successfully. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all the punks loved Lemmy. And, they just did phenomenal then.
They just didn't change for anybody or anything. No. It didn't matter if they were making money or not. They're still going to play the music they played and put out the music they want to play. Yeah. And Motorhead had a big respect. A lot of people were Motorhead for the reason why they never changed. Some songs, some of the later albums maybe a little bit, but they
changed the formation of the band. That was his big mistake, I felt, because it used to be Lemmy on bass, London. I can't remember his name on guitar. 3-piece band, wasn't it? And Filthy on drums. But when he brought the 2 guitarists in, it's lost the rawness a bit.
Yeah, Fast Eddie Clark, obviously. Yeah. Fastway. I love Fastway, right? It's just that classic, straight up rock. And Fast Eddie Clark was an amazing guitar player.
He was, yeah.
So
he was underrated because he was reputed, if you don't know, Filthy Taylor, that he invented thrash. Because he used to play that double bass drum, didn't he? And he was accredited with inventing the thrash movement, if anyone doesn't know. But they were way ahead of their time. No 2 ways about it. But just the original lineup, the 3 of them. But as I say, when they got into a 2-guitar band, I'm trying to think of one of the guitarists because he's on tour with something Bastard Sons or something. And I forgot his name now, but he played with Lemmy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I can't remember his name. Rod will know. And it slipped my tongue, but he's on tour. He was
Phil Campbell.
Phil Campbell. That's it.
And of course, you look at the drummer. I know late they got Mickey D, who's played with Scorpions, Kingdom. Another phenomenal drummer, right?
Phil Campbell, yeah. But Phil Feet to me was phenomenal. To me, Motorhead were the three of them. That's when they were at the rawest and the best. And I say it used to cross over. It was one of the only bands that sort of crossed over nicely into the punk movement as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Girls' School was another band. They, I think, crossed over successfully into the two genres as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
So,
actually, in my car,
he knows his rock. He knows his music too. So,
who's that?
Rocket Rod.
Yeah. Rocket does, yeah.
I've never heard of him or seen his YouTube channel, but
no, I don't think Rod's got one.
Oh, he doesn't have one. Okay, get one.
Well, he'll have to come on here. He's brave enough. We can see it. I always want to see what he looks like. If he's brave enough, he'll have to come up with us. Come on the channel.
I agree.
And you, Aaron.
Well, so I found out about the Roundhouse tapes, actually called Soundhouse tapes.
Right.
Not Roundhouse. Okay, Soundhouse. Features first recordings by Iron Maiden, released in '79. Has only 3 songs on a demo tape, and the 3 tracks are Iron Maiden, Invasion, and Prowler. And they put out 5,000 of them. They're all sold, and it says that with collectors having been sold up to 1,750 pounds on online auctions. Well, I don't know how much that is on Canadian money, but probably lots.
Yeah, I've heard of them, but because it's funny you mentioned them because I read them in another thing I was reading about. They mentioned the Soundhouse tapes or the Roundhouse tapes, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
but yeah. Anybody else got any? Sorry,
I was just gonna say I'm probably gonna step off. Only because I'm going to go check up on my wife. She had surgery this week. So
I was going to wind it up because it's getting past midnight here. And if that's okay with you, gents.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's 5,000 is a lot of copies too. Yeah. They've sold a lot, isn't it? Yeah. I was going to say, you may not have heard, but I'm starting to lose my voice. And also, it's sort of getting like a bit beyond no man's land for me. I like to sort of get off here before midnight because I'm upset the neighbours. If you don't know, I live in an apartment. You see what the Americans call flats over here, but I think you guys call them apartments.
Okay, my last thing I'll say is just: is your wife okay or suffering, or is she doing good?
No, she's good. She had surgery in Montreal last week, so I picked her up from the airport on Friday. So she's just laying upstairs, trying to stay as comfortable as she can. So
send her best.
Yeah, for sure. So I thought I'd been down here for 2 hours, so I thought I better go check up on her, make sure she's doing all right. So,
well, I don't know. Do you remember? I'm sure it was you was on. We had an emergency here as well. I nearly lost my auntie a couple of weeks back. I think it was a Judas Priest show when you was on. I'm sure it was. And I had something like that going on with my auntie. We thought, she was very, very ill. But sending you my best, mate. Sending you all my love and that.
Yeah, and tell her that. Go up there and point your finger at her and say, okay, now if you double up on your housework, you'll get better faster. So see how far you get with that.
I'll probably won't be on another live stream if I say that.
Yeah.
Well, Greg's only one of the 3 of us who's actually experienced primal fear, especially when he upsets Shirley. He's an expert on primal fear. He's probably felt it at first hand.
Yeah.
Shoveling snow for the next 6 hours.
Yeah.
You can't really look at snow by the whites of its eyes because it's all white, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't wait for the whites of its eyes because it's all white.
Yeah, and Atlantic Canada is supposed to get hit with a big snowstorm, but I don't know if it's new. But,
glad I caught you. Oh, it was a pleasure, Aaron.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it always is, mate, to have you on, mate. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for
You're another candidate. If you ever want to come on, give us a shout.
Rocket Rod, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, and Aaron.
And Aaron, yeah.
And the other guy, John, I think his name was. I hope he's still on. He's probably fell asleep now. They usually do after half an hour with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, we've had bad weather here. It's unlike we had 7 named storms, one after the other. And we don't get a lot of snow here anymore, but people died. That's why you don't joke about this stuff. But people died. We lost a fair few people, a couple of people died in the last one. But yeah, we've had it not as bad as you American fellas with the snow, but we've had a lot of wind.
What? What?
Sorry, Canadians.
Yeah,
yeah, well, you have to put it down. So I'm getting tired now and fatigued.
Yeah, be the back of my hand next.
Thank you. Send it mail order. Just cut your hand off, and I'll go and send it back, and you can reattach it.
Well, you enjoy yourself in Australia and have a good sleep. And
yeah. Okay, folks. Let's wind this one up. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good night, all. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. We do an impromptu show. Probably be Wednesday night. If Greg's available, and if I'm available, we should be. I can't speak for Greg or but Dan wants to join us. Anyone wants to join us, give us a shout. My contact details on the community of YouTube. Just give us a shout, and I'll stick you on. And if you want to join us, but thanks for watching, guys. God bless, peace and love each other, and take care. See ya.
Hey, bye.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers, guys.